In this video, I'm going to show you a handy tool that can really help you prototype projects and also help you learn to code. It's called a Jupyter Notebook, and it's something that can really help you understand the flow of your code, which makes it really good at solving quick problems and some problems that can take a really long time to rerun. So let's get to it. First off, you're going to want to install the Jupyter extension in Visual Studio Code. If you don't have Visual Studio Code, you can go ahead and check this video right up here. And if you don't want Visual Studio Code, I have a link in the description for how you can basically run Jupyter Notebooks without any other IDE. All right, so I already have a Jupyter Notebook here, but if you want to create one yourself, you can just press Control-Shift-P, and that will open up the command palette. And here you can just type create new Jupyter Notebook, and you can see that there's an option to create a new one right here. You can also click View Command Palette and then click that there. Or if you're on Mac, it's Command-Shift-P rather than Control-Shift-P. With our new Jupyter Notebook, you can now write either code or Markdown in blocks. So what this looks like is you can create a code block by clicking the plus, or also with under or above the current blocks. And this allows you to just write code. You can then also click Markdown to type something. So like testing some Markdown. And we can go ahead and say that that's good. And there we go. Now we have testing some Markdown. Just kind of a nice way if you want to write out how your code works and explain your code, then it's a pretty great way to do it. But we're not going to do that because this isn't a teaching channel or anything. So some of the other things that we have up here are this run all button, which runs all code blocks that we have, a restart button, which basically removes all of the existing stored values, which you'll kind of see later. You can clear all the outputs, which you'll also see in a few minutes. Variables, which if you click, it will show you this down at the bottom, which shows which variables are defined within your file. And then outline, which if you click, it just shows the symbols that are defined within the document, which right now are none. All right, so to start off, I'm just going to show you a simple example of how you can use a Jupyter Notebook to maybe do some kind of web scraping. So let's do that. So to start off, we're going to import Beautiful Soup 4. If you don't have these pip installed, then go ahead and do pip install BS4. Another thing we're going to do is use Selenium, so we're going to import Selenium. And you can install that with pip install Selenium. So within this code, we're going to use selenium.webdriver. But if you'd prefer, you could instead do from Selenium import WebDriver. But just so that it's really clear where it's coming from, we're not going to go ahead and do that. Thank you for the one comment within one of my YouTube videos where somebody suggested this. Another thing from Selenium that we're going to use is called by. So we are actually going to import from Selenium with the from command. From selenium.webdriver.common.by import by. So rather than having to type this.by every time, this is a little bit nicer. All right, and finally, we're also going to import time. And the reason we're doing this is so that we can sleep, because sleeping is good. All right, so now if we go ahead and run this, you can see that we get a check mark. That means that it has finished compiling and running this piece of code. Technically, it's Python, so it doesn't need to compile, but it ran this piece of code. Now, there are no variables here, but what this means is that unless we add something new to this block of code, we never need to run this part of the code again, because any code that we define after it will always have whatever this provides. So let's go ahead and add another code block. So I'm going to go ahead and paste in some code here. So what we're going to do here is basically get some website. So specifically, we're going to be getting, if you follow the World Championship for League of Legends and you don't want any spoilers, maybe pause the video for a couple of seconds or go ahead in 30 seconds. But we're going to be basically getting all of the teams that are playing in the World Championship. I'm from NA. Obviously, we are not doing very well because all of our teams are out. But we're basically going to try and query all of the teams from this right here. So we're going to be getting that using driver.get. and we're going to be creating a driver with a Chrome driver specifically, and we're going to use the headless argument so that it doesn't actually pop up. And then we're going to sleep for 3 seconds, so that gives some time for the page to load, because if you go to this page immediately, if you do like a curl get for this page, nothing's really there. No data's there because it loads it all after the fact. Then we're going to find an element called the body, and we're going to get the outer HTML. So we're going to get basically the whole body tag and everything within it. And then we're going to quit our driver. If you want to learn how to use Selenium more than this, check out this video right up here. All right, so now if we go ahead and click run, we can see that it's taking some time, probably because we're sleeping for 3 seconds, but we'll see if it finishes. All right, great, it's done. So this one actually took 10.3 seconds. But one thing you might also notice is that we now have a page source, which is it has a size, it has the body, and we have these options and driver. We don't really care about driver or options anymore because we're done with them, but page source is what we want. We want to be able to use the page source with Beautiful Soup 4, which allows us to basically take a web page and query it really easily. And we're going to use that. Now, one of the great things for this is that we just grabbed that web page, but we don't ever need to grab it again because we already have the page source. So it's kind of like you would go and grab the web page, you copied it all into another file, and then you're referencing that. But instead, we're just kind of, it's like already within our Jupyter Notebook, and we can always reference it after this block. So it's pretty sweet. This is actually super useful too if you ever are testing out an API and you are, calling a new API. Sometimes APIs will have quotas. Actually, almost all of them will have a quota. And what a quota means is that you can only call an API every so often, say 10 times within a minute. If that's the case and you're trying to test because you're implementing on the API, well, if you're trying to run and you make a change and then you run and then you make a change and then you run and you do it, 11 times within a minute or maybe 10 minutes, whatever their quota is, then you're going to be blocked. But if you use a Jupyter Notebook, you can just do it a single time to get the response from the API and then write whatever you need to because you already have the response. So it's pretty sweet. All right, the next thing we're going to do is just call page equals Beautiful Soup 4, so BS4, dot Beautiful Soup, and we're going to pass in the page source because we have it from the past block. Then we can go ahead and click execute cell. And there you go. Now we see we have this page, which is a Beautiful Soup type, whereas this one was a string. And it is basically what we saw here, but it doesn't have the little parentheses there. Or quote, not parentheses. All right, now we need to actually query the page. So what we're going to do first is we're going to paste this in, and I'll kind of go over what we're doing. So we're basically going to get all of the spans that have this team template text. Now, if I open up this page again, and we go to the inspector, and I search for team template text, you can see that there is this team template text in a number of places, right? And if you go within the team template text, there's nothing here, but if we go to, maybe we start at the bottom, the last example, if you go within this, there is going to be an anchor tag, which then has the team name within it. So we're going to be trying to get this team name from that anchor tag. So if we go back to our code here, in order to do that, we're going to find all of the span tags with the specific class name. And then we're going to print these spans out just to kind of show you that there's something there. And yes, you can print results out within this here. It shows a little output, which you'll see in just a second. Then we're going to create a teams set, which just is basically something that ensures that they're unique. And then we're going to, for each span within our spans, we're going to try and find if there's an anchor tag within it. If there is, if there is, then we're going to get the title from it, and then we're going to add that title to our teams list. And then finally, let's just print out the teams. All right, awesome. So let's go ahead and run this. and we can see that it ran very quickly. But here we can see the output. So this is the output of the entire spans. And then if we go ahead and click this, we can then see our set, which is an unordered data structure. So we can get all of the names of all of the teams there. Pretty awesome. Now that we've gone through everything, we can kind of go over a couple more of these buttons here. So if you click clear all outputs, it's going to clear all outputs, but it doesn't actually delete the data that's here. So that means that if we click this again, it's just going to do it immediately. And if we click this again, it's going to also do it immediately. But if we click restart, we can click and accept our restart. And when we go ahead and do that, what's going to actually happen is it means that no variables are defined anymore. So it basically like wipes the memory of the Jupyter Notebook, but it doesn't actually delete any of our code. So say we want to run this last value here. We want to get all of the teams. Well, if we click this, we can't do anything because teams isn't defined. So in order to do this, we actually need to run everything before it, because same thing here. If we click this, well, we don't know what Selenium is because this block hasn't actually run yet. All right, if you want to run everything, so if you click run all, it's going to run everything in order. So it first ran this. It's now getting our page and putting it into page source. So we should see this pop up down here. Yep, lots of stuff popped up there because it just finished everything else. If you don't want to have to actually go ahead and click this, if you just want to be able to, say you made a change here, we made this to href, basically meaning you want to get all of the links. So like this instead. You can just press Shift Enter and that will run it immediately, the currently selected one. But when you do that, it actually highlights the next one. So if you press Shift Enter again, it will run that and then create a new one. So you can kind of like keep coding without ever having to go back to the mouse, which is pretty cool. Now, say you have all of your code completed here and you want to just put it into another file. Well, it's super easy to do that. All you have to do is just click these three buttons here and just click export and then whatever file type you'd like, even a PDF. So if we do Python script, we can see it creates this, and it even has these little tags, which is how you can kind of import it back into Jupyter. Jupyter Notebooks can be a super useful tool to have in your back pocket, whether you're prototyping something or just kind of new to code. They're pretty awesome. Thank you so much for watching. Please drop a like down below and subscribe. Remember, I'm Jake, you're awesome, and this has been Jupyter. But like not like the planet, like the notebooks. Cheers.